What is up? Good evening. Welcome in. Hope you're having a great holiday weekend. Here it's a Sunday night, and a lot of people are not going to have to go back to work tomorrow. So I hope you all are having a good time. Welcome in to another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Casey. Nick is on assignment at this time, but we will get him back. He'll be back. We got a really good show for you tonight. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. If you want to get some tickets to some live events, some games, some concerts, check out the Guards. Get you some Browns tickets. Go over to our friends over at SeatGeek. Use our promo code Barking Browns, all one word. Receive $20 off your first purchase. Casey, how are you doing?
Brother, you said it at the top, man. Like, a lot of people are celebrating their Memorial Day today, but many people don't have to go to work tomorrow. For the first time in my adult life, I am one of those people. I have tomorrow off, so I'm just riding high on that, brother, because I worked for the post office for long enough, and I ran a movie theater for years before that, and there's no holidays in the movie theater business. And those days at the post office were, even though we can't deliver your mail, we're out there doing packages. So I got none of that tomorrow. So I ain't nothing to do. I can stay up late and talk ball with you. So it's a good thing, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch some cartoons. I'm going to get into some shenanigans after this, and it's just really nice because I got to flex. Most people know that have been following this show that I've been I'm working second shift now, so I'm working 4:30 to 1 a.m. But they allowed us on Friday to work noon to 8:30. So I got off at 8:30 on Friday and don't have to go back until 4:30 p.m. Tuesday. So been living it up. Watch the OBR this week because as a result of all this time off, I have submitted my first 2026 draft article. We're already there. 3 wide receivers.
You're a psychopath. I love it.
3 wide receivers. They're not rankings yet. It's just, I'm going to be giving you some names at positions of guys I like. Then at the end of the summer, right before the season kicks off, the college and NFL season kicks off, I'm going to give you top 10 preseason rankings for the 26 draft. But right now I'm just like, and I've tried to make that very apparent in the article. I'm like, hey, these are just going to be articles with me highlighting some guys I like. Like, I'm not saying these are the top 3 guys, because one of them I think is probably that I wrote about is probably actually my wide receiver 6 or 7. I just really like him and I wanted him out there. And part of it was he's an Ohio State guy. It's Carnell Tate, spoiler, but like, I don't think he's in my top 3 preseason right now, but like that's what everybody's going to read into it. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. I have a sickness.
No, we're going to hold your feet to the fire. These are the guys you love, and there will be no taking it back at a later date. These are the guys you're married to, and that's that. That's the rule of the land, dude.
Well, you
put it out there. That's it.
Just so we're clear, one of my first articles for the OBR last year was 3 offensive tackles that you need to watch this season. And 2 of those guys went in the first round and the other guy went day 2. So preseason, I highlighted Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons, and Anthony Belton. So
the Simmons one is a good call out, though, because he wasn't revered going into the season. So
it was like, hey, he played really good at the end of the season. He had just made the conversion from right to left. He went from San Diego State to Ohio State. Not only did he make the conversion from right tackle to left, he did it when he left Arizona State. He left Arizona State as a right tackle, went to Ohio State, and then moved to the left side. So it was really kind of quite impressive that he eventually got that pretty down before last year, and then he had that good year last year. But man, we continue this series as we bring some people on to talk about some of the draft picks the Browns have done or have made this year, the 7-player draft. We a couple of weeks ago had Josh Keatley on to talk about Quinshon Judkins. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that video out on our YouTube. I think it's pretty good episode. Yeah, this week we got a very interesting situation. I'm going to let you tee this up, but we got a really unique guest here that is going to be able to hit a couple of really good topics for us.
We are double dipping tonight.
Oh, yeah.
We got a guy who can talk about one of the prospects, covered him early in his college career at UCF. But this man also covers the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's co-host of the Duval Dive. He's electric. He's incomparable. The master of the Bing, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kyle Nash.
You got to bring him on.
Hey, man. Got me driving the bus.
Incomparable and the master of the Bing. How can I knock any of that? It's not rare. I could be on as a guest, both promoting the Black and Gold Bannerets Night Shift podcast as well as the Duval Dive Simultaneous you cited. So hey, I'm excited to do that. And Casey, listen, let me be among the first to congratulate you on having your Monday off. And of course, I will pay tribute to anybody who is paying tribute to your servicemen who did not come home. Yes. Be among the first to do that for Memorial Day. I have to. My dad, he came home, but he's not with us now. So there you go. I get to fly the flag for him this year and be part of that tribute. So yeah, appreciate you having me on, guys. And I have. It's always fun to come to talk with the Barking Browns, gentlemen. There we go. I miss Nick. Let him know. Let him know I was this close to taking the cut from the Joe Hendry song and telling him that I believe in Stefanski.
There we go.
Happy about that, I think.
I'm a wrestling guy. I'm actually a big Joe Hendry guy. So I absolutely lost my mind when he showed up to wrestle Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I mean, I just went
Randy Orton dug the response, bro. I've seen the TikTok. I'm not a wrestling guy. The only way I know this song is because I heard it once on a TikTok, and now it won't get out of my damn head. Nope. But yeah, Randy Orton looking at the crowd and going, okay, that was fun. Anyways.
And there's like this moment where he like pats Joe Hendry and he's like, good job. And then he RKOs him real quick. I'm just going to knock you out. The match was over and he knocked him out again. Yeah, just some really interesting takes just because we can ask you about the Jaguars. We can ask you about Dillon Gabriel, especially having covered Dillon Gabriel at the beginning of his career in just like a couple more stops. And I saw so much growth with that. But the first question I want to ask you, how did you feel about Liam Cohen's Duval?
Oh, guys, there's some 4D chess going on there. Because there's clips like either immediately before, immediate left after, I forget which, but friend of the Duval Dive, News 4 Jackson's own Jamal St. Cyr had actually interviewed him. And like I said, shortly before or after, and he delivered the proper Duval, just as you'd expect. You're like, hey, wait a minute, hold on. How's somebody who looks like that delivering a good Duval in the first time out? Let's go, Yeah. But he was hitting, I think, kind of a chord there. Hey, and if you listen to leading up to the Duval, it all kind of fit. But hey, you know what? It's a fun meme. I even helped out my friend, the general himself of touring the AFC South, Mike Patton, come up with a fun little tutorial video about how to do your proper Duval. But listen, I'm not even a card-carrying member of the Devout, and I still knew better. Liam Cohen knew. He just delivered it with the tone of the speech. I'm not going to say it's unfortunate because the damn bite is funny, but let's not act like he came up with do you believe in miracles? Yes, right there on the spot in that moment. Okay, I'm just saying. Shouts to Al Michaels, by the way.
Fair enough. So we'll transition to Dillon Gabriel. I'm a bit, and then we'll obviously for everybody watching, we're gonna ask him about what he feels about the trade up, the Travis Hunter, and all that stuff. So we're gonna get into all of that. That's what I'm really excited about, just the multifacets of things that we get to tackle tonight. I'm just very excited. So I'm a pretty big Dillon Gabriel guy. Like I think I was one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I think I was one of the. I had him in the top 150. I still didn't have him at 94. Like that was the thing. I was like, I still didn't quite have him. I see what it was, but just kind of take us through. He arrives there. Does he start right away? Like what kind of was going on when he gets to Central Florida?
Well, and yeah, when he came to UCF. I recognized him in the spring game that he was going to take the job, right? And leading up to it there at the time, you got to remember DJ Mack had just made himself a name coming in, winning the conference championship. I think, what was it? 5 touchdowns he was responsible for. This is like 2 games after. Check that. Well, no, it was the next game because Mackenzie Milton hurt himself on the regular season finale versus USF, right? So DJ Mack has to come in, win the conference, play against LSU and Joe Burrow before it was cool. They would the next year, of course, went on to have that statistically all-time great season for the national championship. I actually sent a buddy me talking to Joe Burrow back then because I actually went to that Fiesta Bowl game. But spotting Dillon Gabriel early on, he had all the right stuff as a freshman. I'm like, give him time to develop. Maybe some things happen. But he's never really kind of gotten over the hump of being a guy who could put the team on his back. That's not his role. That never has been his role. I think they wanted him to do that at Oregon. It certainly wasn't the thing at Oklahoma that he could do that either. They should have lost to UCF when they played him that game too, and then a little too much extra chickeration handed Oklahoma the win right at the end of the game there, right? So there's a lot of things I'm referencing where just the way that, early in Peyton Manning's career, he was called a choker. Dillon Gabriel could be very much accused of the same thing. I don't find him particularly mobile. Not that he's slow. He's just good enough at everything. I think career backup is his role. But God help you if you can't protect him.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest areas of growth that you've noticed from where he first stepped on the campus at UCF to what you saw this final season in Oregon? Where the biggest leaps come out for you?
Yeah, well, and for me, I make the jokes about him being a mercenary, but half of the reason he was able to pull that off is because he came in quick and picked things up, right? This is the way he beat out Brandon Wimbush, who had just come in from Notre Dame. He picked up the new system faster than the guy that was a starter at Notre Dame previously was. Also had a far better arm. DJ Mack, of course, got hurt, so he never saw his spot again starting because Dillon Gabriel established himself after that second week in FAU there at UCF. So, and then as he went on, again, never really felt like he was super great, but was able to come up with stats because he had a good supporting cast. Remember, his first year at Oklahoma, also not particularly awesome. Injuries and stuff were a factor, sure. But give the kid credit. One thing I will never knock on Dillon Gabriel is his ability to pick up a playbook, get in there, and be a smarter player. Whether you want to think he's a cerebral quarterback because he has to be or not is irrelevant. He is one. And I think that's kind of the thing that will keep him at least competitive there, as far as being I could see him beating out a Kenny Pickett because I don't think he makes Kenny Pickett mistakes the way Kenny Pickett did when he was younger. Yeah, I love it. So, I also, in fairness to Kenny Pickett, though, it sounds like I'm slamming him, but I also think the Steelers gave up on him too soon, too. So there's that. Well, it'll be a very interesting thing to see unfold in that camp.
It's going to be, I just realized, by the way, anybody that's watching the first 15 minutes of this, that my dumbass disabled the live comments. So nobody's been, that's why we haven't gotten anything. Someone sent me a text. They're like, why can't we comment? And I'm like, oh, because I didn't change the thing. So the live comments are active. If you're watching this live stream right now, they are there. You can join the conversation and have that chat now. Cause I just noticed that. So for me with Dillon, my thing about Gabriel is I see a guy that is always I see a point guard, right? I see a point guard that can distribute it. I think he's accurate. I think he's pretty smart at this point. Like I think that I wrote a piece where he has when you blitz him, he had an adjusted completion percentage of almost 80% when blitzed last year in Oregon, just because in my mind, I think he knows how to find those blitz beaters and those kind of things because he's always on time. To me, I feel like he's an extension of he's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games.
Correct.
And I think he's somewhere in the middle. So is that kind of, I assume it's kind of what I'm getting from you. That's kind of how you feel about it too.
Generally speaking, right. And it's about the system there too. I mean, Oregon traditionally gets supporting cast guys who can find the hot route. And let's remember, before Malzahn came in, he was playing in an offense that at the time, sure, was coached by Josh Heupel, but was still founded in Scott Frost, which himself had spent time at Notre Dame before going to UCF either time. So I think there's some there that made its natural progression for him being that quarterback there. I don't think he was a good fit at Oklahoma, but again, because it's the Big 12 and that's where defenses generally go to die in college football. That's something he was able to overcome because Oklahoma, give them their credit, had weapons and made the best of them. I think there's again, that's that cerebral quarterback thing we're talking about. If he can spot it, he'll beat you. But if it's a situation where somebody gets beat and he has to create a play, that doesn't go quite as well.
Appreciate Jim C.
One thing where you touched on was his ability to get inside of a playbook and learn new systems and kind of start swimming right away, which is probably one of the hardest things to do from just a disseminating information perspective for a young quarterback. I don't care where you're at, to come and learn all the new verbiage. Most things kind of, you might know the concept, but it was called something different. Right. And to get on that same page right away, I think that, because as a Browns fans, we've wanted Stefanski to pick his guy. Finally let this guy pick someone he wants to and see what he can do with them. And I think by where the general consensus of where Gabriel was going to go versus where the Browns picked him at 94 is kind of an indication that Stefanski felt like they had to get him. I felt like that was a guy they wanted to bring into the program, and you said it. He's not a guy who's going to win the game for you, but you can certainly win with him.
Yes. Yes.
What concepts do you think will translate the easiest that you've seen him run to the pros? Like, what do you think he'll be able to hit the ground running with?
I think it's just a matter of, if you got guys that can kind of, find the checkdowns when things go wrong, that's going to be where it starts. And then he's got enough of an arm to hit a guy that can beat you down the field. Even in the Malzahn offense, for the short time he played it, even though he threw 3 interceptions in the first half, they still ended up beating Boise State in that season opener, which didn't end till like friggin' 5 a.m. or something because of all the lightning delays. Coach Malzahn looked me square in the eye and said, "Hey, man, thank you for staying." Like that. It's one of those kind of nights, But in order to come back and gain ground like that, you got to hit big plays. And, he's not, even though here's the thing. The bigger the field is, the less likely he is to make an unforced error, right? Think what you guys seen your rival Ben Roethlisberger do at times. Like when he turns the ball over, it's typically in the red zone, and that was true of Dillon Gabriel at UCF.
Yeah. I think he's such a good fit for the Kevin Stefanski offense, because if you give Dillon Gabriel an easy answer, he's going to find it.
Yeah, that's a good take.
And that's what Kevin does. Like, we've been begging for years, like the last couple, since Baker left. We're like, can someone just be average? I see all these open guys. Can somebody just throw it to the freaking open guy? Like, can you please do that? So you were close to the program when he was down there. Is he one of those guys that other players gravitate? Is he a vocal leader? Like, is it just like he kind of is a quiet lead by example kind of guy? Or is it just like he a guy that other teammates like to gravitate to?
It never felt to me like he was the center of attention in any particular place, but that's harder for me to consume because when I had him, he was a freshman and sophomore, right? So like, it's a situation where, maybe at Oklahoma, or Oregon, wherever he ended up, like that was a bigger deal, a bigger part of it. I can't acknowledge that his ability to handle the press improved, throughout his career, just from, catching bites here and there, not that he was particularly bad when he did it as a freshman though, like, for clarity there too. So yeah, it's
always talking about Baker. Don't pay any attention to.
Oh no, it's fine. I will say that he's far less mobile than Baker. So whatever that. Just so you your Browns fans out there have kind of a mapping scale of what his mobility is. Baker is more mobile than Dillon Gabriel for sure.
So one of the hot button subjects when it comes to Gabriel is his size. Mm-hmm. How concerned are you of his ability to be viable as a pro with that frame?
I mean, we've already seen him deal with injury issues. Injury issues was what got him out of UCF, right? So I mean, to not think injury risk would be well, for lack of a better word, insanity. Then that's kind of the protection element. But to your point, as you brought up earlier, Jake, if the dude has answers to get out of trouble, he doesn't get hit. I mean, this is how Kyler Murray has survived. Smaller guys, thanks to Russell, Carrington, Wilson, are more accepted than they ever have been in the past. And let's be honest, this might have been what kept Gabriel from being a UDFA, right? So I hear you, but, just don't let him take that big hit at the end of the day, right?
Sorry, I have steak nachos, and I was just choosing to eat some of the steak nachos.
Damn, honorary fat man in the hizzy. Let's go. I ain't even mad at steak nachos. That's what I'm talking about. I had to give the nachos a bell, Casey. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Sometimes you got to have steak nachos. Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is kind of high end of the scale for him. High end of an outcome. Can he be because I think his arms, and you even said it, I think his arm's bigger than people give it credit for, because people see a sub 6 foot guy and they're like, well, he must not have an arm. And it's not like a bazooka. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bazooka, but it's better than Shedeur Sanders. I'm just going to say it. He has a stronger arm than Shedeur Sanders. And we've already seen that. Casey, I'm looking for the Shedeur soldiers. Are they going to come for me? They're going to fight me. They wanted to fight me until 3 a.m. last week on the episode.
Hey, listen, they don't get me started on Colorado fans. I did the night shift live for UCF in Colorado, and they were coming after me, dude. I ain't mad at it. I love the sports. Thank you for the engagement, but dang.
We had an overwhelming, and I'm very excited that Shedeur came in the 5th round, because it's like there's no pressure, and I think he's got the upside and all this stuff. We had a very overwhelmingly positive conversation about him, but yes, because not everything I said was kissing the ground where he walks, people got really upset with me, and I'm just like, sorry, I'm just going to tell you how it is. Just like, I love Dillon Gabriel, but I understand that he's 5'11". And so I understand that kind of stuff. And everybody's like, well, everybody's making up all this baggage stuff about Shedeur. And I'm like, then why did he fall to the 5th round? But anyway, I got to get off that, because I'm going to get killed if I don't. Trust me, they're sensing it. I love it.
Listen, for what it's worth, fellas, and I mentioned this because I know we're going to be using the term defensive tackle a lot in this particular episode as we get closer to talking about the trade. But I'm not going to forget, I think it might have been last season, I forget, whatever, week 2, when the Browns came to Everbank.
Yep, week 2.
I had said, hey, the defensive tackles might get some pushed. I got obliterated by your fans for giving you hope. And then they won the game. Hey, where are you guys? I told you. Anyways, please continue.
That was Alex Wright's bet. Alex Wright, baby, the guy that got the guy that got the safety right there on the right. Well, his old jersey number.
That was and no disrespect, the man made the play. I'm not dissing him, but that O-line had one of the worst reps of the entire season. That game.
Yeah, that was an Olay block. If anybody wants to know what the football term Olay means, go watch that play.
There you go.
If you don't know, so no, high end for me. Does he? And I'm careful the way I say this, because whenever you put out a comp like this, people, I don't know, they're like, you're saying he's this already? It's like, no, I'm not. The high end, can he reach Brock Purdy? Is he that? Do you think he can be? Because to me, I think he's that level of a processor.
Intelligent-wise, yes. Athletically, no. Brock Purdy is a far better athlete than Dillon Gabriel will ever hope to be. And listen, that's from watching Brock Purdy play 2 bowl games here in Orlando as well. 3-point conversion. So that all being said, no, that I didn't mean the XFL or the UFL. I meant that was the outlet that I covered those bowl games for. Shouts to Matt Campbell too, coach of the Iowa State Cyclones, for just being a good human being. Anyways, I don't think mentally he could do that. Now, with all due respect to you, to my barking Browns, there ain't no way you got a roster like that. Okay. Started on the contract. Granted, I think they did the best they could, keeping it at only air quotes, 181 million guaranteed, right? But the ceiling, if you the way you worded it is where I'll say it. If he surpasses and gets to be more an athlete than I think, and I've had it wrong this whole time, because I'm not going to rule it out. That's possible. The ceiling, exactly how you put it, is Brock Purdy. Okay, yeah. Oh, I don't think he does it long enough to get that kind of a contract. But yeah, I think that's a fair enough take.
Well, before we transition,
what I was getting at is just like a really good, like a guy that with everything right around him, you can win.
Right. That's
kind of what I was getting at. Just because right now you don't know who your wide receiver 2 is, and you got all these things, and a lot of things need to come together for Cleveland. Yeah. But my biggest thing is like, can he be a high end game manager? Like, because that's kind of where I put him on the high in terms of that's where the ceiling is, that you can win. You can win Steelers style football, right? Like they did with Kenny Pickett. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, they did that with Ben as a youth too. I mean, we'll call that what it is too.
And the term game manager gets a dirty rap. The vast majority of NFL quarterbacks are exactly that. Some are more high end than others. Some can actually put it on their back in the fourth quarter and pull out a win here and there. But I think that's the final takeaway I have with Gabriel is he just runs a system. He's a plug-in guy. Jacob puts it, he's a point guard. And I think as long as they keep him in those parameters to where they're not asking him to do too much, just find open guys, get to the backside dig every now and again, but just see the field, get rid of the football, and minimize turnovers. I think but when I say all that, it sounds more like we're talking about a backup quarterback.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which
absolutely. Is
a very important position in the NFL. I don't know if you spend the 94th overall pick on someone who would be a backup, but that's just how I see him.
Well, and I think Jake touched on it too, where if Stefanski thinks he's a fit with the style that he's trying to run, I'm not necessarily against it. Yeah, it gets shaky to me, and this isn't to knock your take, Casey. I mean, listen, I am not a draftnik. I have people who do draft stuff for me. The Jacobs of the world, the draftniks work way harder on it than I would presume to even attempt to do. I am a horrible scout, and too often do I need my co-host and personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, to bail me out on the Duval dive when we do talk the draft. So I say all the above to say it gets shaky with like, well, he was here and all this. The Browns draft situation such that it was this year, I think you're just getting guys to exist through the season. Hopefully they survive it. And really, and regardless of the fact, let's pretend that even if the Travis Hunter trade didn't happen, they're loading to really make the push next draft, I think, right?
Yeah, if somebody doesn't just like, I think they are playing to win because of where this roster is in terms of veterans. So they're looking to win some games, but I do think their quarterback, they were loading up for next year. Quarterback, they were like, we're just going to try to play. They want to. Somebody said it over the weekend, and I just can't stop thinking about it. They want to win like the Steelers have won for the last 5 or 6 years, where they're just playing good defense, running the ball, just getting enough for this year. But it's very evident that the quarterback answer, it's been next year. Unless they get lucky,
tight end and running back health have been such an issue for you guys offensively too. You that's where you would struggle to emulate the Steelers, as they consistently have that as well. But I digress.
I'm just hoping. I mean, you got that two-headed monster like that. Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson is like, if that offensive line cannot suck ass, which is a big ask after last year.
It's pretty big if. Before we transition though to Jacksonville, do Jacob here solid, the draftnik that he is. Give him a couple names from UCF that he should be looking out for this year.
I mean, if you're not already looking out for RJ Harvey, I question your draftnik ability. I like where BJ Adams ended up. Sorry, it's Brandon Adams. He changed his name, right? Everybody's still calling him BJ. That's technically incorrect. I have to say that appropriately as somebody who covers UCF for the Black and Gold Banneret. Jeff Sharon would be all over me for that. Mac McWilliams has surprised the hell out of people, doing what he's done. Look for him to make an impact on special teams. and maybe sneak his way into a spot. Overall, the class has been relatively, I don't want to say it was a weaker class, but they were done a pretty big disservice by kind of the disaster that took place offensively. With the KJ Jefferson experiment failing, needing 4 quarterbacks to start regardless of injury. So with all that in mind, I feel like those are kind of the 2 names that pop off. I didn't really have any beef that excited me that went into the draft. I will obviously not respect or disrespect Ricky Barber in that way, who for the Commanders is playing D tackle, but he's kind of a small body D tackle, so we'll see if he makes the squad. I'm excited for him too. Kalia Davis did it a couple years back for the Niners. Maybe Ricky Barber can do the same. He is one of the most mild-mannered dudes of size I've ever met, but he's also kind of ruthless in that way when he's playing, so it may sneak his way in there too. So just the ones that come off the top of my head. If you want to check my evaluation and the rest of the team, you can always check it out in the football section of the blackandgoldbanneret.com.
Just so we're clear, I was an RJ Harvey guy before it was cool last cycle.
Oh, of course. Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, and it was tough 2 years ago with Isaiah Bowser being in the building still and all that. But yeah, and by the way, for all the people that wanted to tell me how bad UCF's O-line was, RJ Harvey or not, you get an O-line that produces a 1,600-yard rusher. You ain't a bad O-line. I'm just saying.
No, I've seen. Yeah, it's not exactly an easy thing to do. All right, let's transition. Let's transition to Jacksonville. We told you this coming into this episode. We were talking to you. Where it's like we're married this year. Like it happened. It happened a few years ago when, ironically, when the Texans traded with the Browns to get Deshaun Watson when they drafted him.
Yes.
And then he tore his ACL as a rookie and they only won 4 games and the Browns got the 4th overall pick. We were watching all of those games too. The Browns also themselves earned the number 1 overall pick. So they were picking 1 and 4, which was just such a weird draft season. You know what I mean? Like it was just so weird. So we're married in that.
Not that this was normal by any means, Jake. Let's be real.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about the trade. And what I'll do is I'll preface this by saying kind of what I thought about it, just from my side. And then I want to hear from because I know you told us before the show that it's been all over the place from people you've talked to about it,
right,
the reaction to it and overall. I think Travis Hunter is a generational player. I really do. And he was number 1 on my board. I was a little bit upset when they traded back because I wanted him or Abdul Carter. Like that was just where I was in terms of my evaluations.
Who didn't? Hey man, listen, how many articles I wrote on Fans First Sports Network about the fact that Travis Hunter just ain't going to happen. But if it does, you'll see this series of picks. I did, but I even had one to go so far as to say, and we all knew it wouldn't happen, but hey, it's draft season. You write filler content. Why it was bad for the Jags if the Titans drafted Abdul Carter. Because if you're in the AFC South and they do that, meaning they're sticking with Will Levis, that's a good thing, right? Yes. Except, and then eventually the article goes on to explain the draft, what have you, that could all go wrong. So anyways, but yeah, continue.
Yeah. So for me, there were some late pick swaps that they had in the 4th or whatever in whatever that part was. It was kind of weird. That was very complex terms because they swapped some 4s and a 6 or something there at the back end of it. But for all intents and purposes, they gave up pick 36, which ends up being Quinshon Judkins, in next year's 1 to go get Travis Hunter. I kind of felt like it was a little bit of an overpay, just solely based on when you break it down this way. Mm-hmm. So would you right now trade Travis Hunter for Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, and a future 1st-round pick? Because that's what it ended up being. Is Mason Graham gets selected at 5, and then Quinshon goes 36, that kind of thing. So it was would you make that trade? I was like, no, I would keep what I have. And so that's why I feel like the Browns may have come out. And now it's all going to be about how those picks work out, and if the Browns don't fuck it up, and they probably will, so it's not going to fucking matter. But you
sound like one of the people who yelled at me that I gave you hope to win that game last year, bro. Damn.
It's just like I think about the time that they trade. Like now, the Deshaun Watson trade did obviously originally work out for them because Baker wasn't a bad first round pick, and Denzel was the pick they got to give up Watson, and Denzel Ward, the one of the best corners in the league. So that kind of worked out. But there's been a lot of Browns trade backs where things happen, like Julio Jones is the pick when they trade out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And don't go look and see who they drafted instead of Julio Jones when they traded out. Don't look at those things.
Defensive tackle.
I'm aware. That's what scares me a little bit. But just from you and people you've talked to and all that stuff, how you feel about the trade up?
Well, and I feel compelled to address the question as you first pose it, Jake. Right? Would you trade Judkins, Graham, and a first rounder for Travis Hunter? Maybe, because the context we're lacking. Like if I'm the Browns, I don't do it because my quarterback future needs to be prepared for. Whereas the Jags, like some teams in the NFL out there, have Trevor Lawrence accounted for, right? Other teams that may execute this is your rival Ravens with Lamar Demetrius Jackson. Maybe the Chiefs with Patrick LeVon Mahomes II. Maybe Josh Allen, with the Bills might do something like that. You have to have that franchise quarterback, and I made sure to include one guy in there that, like Trevor Lawrence, does not get middle name treatment yet. By the way, it also happens that you have the most underappreciated quarterback in the NFL currently. The way that the national media goes after Trevor Lawrence and then tries to tell me, oh, well, golly, CJ Stroud will be in the Super Bowl if all his receivers didn't get hurt and he had an O-line. Bruh, they're in the same division and you're still screwing it up. Okay? And granted, we know that there are those out there that politics are the reason for neglecting Trevor Lawrence's situation. We won't dig too deep into that. You know what I'm saying. But Trevor Lawrence, everybody seems to have forgotten that Christian Kirk had a career year with Trevor Lawrence just after he escaped from being mired in Urban's coaching. Evan Ingram, who was supposed to be a terrible Giants tight end, career year, and pretty much top target on that offense under Doug Peterson, right? Once we get to this part where Trevor Lawrence can get protected, which, hey, listen, they've done a lot of work with that, suddenly it's viable. The other thing it recognizes and is good, the other reason, the thing that the trade as you pose it doesn't capture is an aggressive move like this is something Duval needed to see. And as somebody who is a Niners fan and also covers the Jacksonville Jaguars, so in two ways I'm affected by Trent Baalke, what this trade shows is that the healing in the front office has begun. Let's pretend that the whole Travis Hunter experiment may blow up, which it will, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But let's pretend that all that goes straight to Hades. At day's end, the healing can still begin because we're not talking about a Humpy Bumpy's hand size or whatever. Okay, so that's a lot of the that's what I mean when I say that this draft is this trade is far deeper than golly jeepers. I hope he works out. Sure, that's important. Now,
right.
They're also assuming, and this is the big point that I can't stress enough, that I'm the most skeptical of, with no disrespect to James Gladstone or Liam Cohen, right? They're assuming he's going to play as many snaps in Jacksonville in the NFL, percentage-wise at least, perhaps. I'll give him that much credit, as he did in Colorado. I don't think that's going to happen, guys. Now, granted, part of it is personally seeing Matt Leinert's face turn white when I talked to him in a press scrum leading into Big Noon kickoff at UCF last year when they hosted Colorado. I asked him, you're a former college athlete. What do you make of the fact that he can do this 120 plus snaps per game? He was like, and this isn't me talking trash on Matt Leinart, because were I him, I'd probably go, get hit with silence and try to see how I can bend this without just, claiming him some sort of celestial god or something, But like, he's just a hell of an athlete, man. It's dumbfounding how his body has survived. If you expect him to keep this up for an extended period of time, that is problematic. But even if Travis Hunter gives you 2 seasons, 1 season of that even, it's worth that price tag because they need help at both places.
I think she tricked me, and there was something really spicy on those nachos because it was burning the fuck out of me.
See, I thought I was just making you laugh, but okay.
No, it was both. I was laughing and my mouth's on fire, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, I gotta go turn this fan on.
Let's talk about the pulling the trigger on that deal. And you talk about the healing. You go from bulky, which nobody wanted to work with.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations that you got that out of there.
Hey, dude, like, listen, people will say it's not true. I disagree. I doubt it entirely. But Byron Leftwich should have been coaching in Jacksonville at the time, not Doug Peterson. No disrespect to Doug Peterson. I had fun watching him. He was great pressers, all that stuff. But anyways.
Well, so you go get this young guy who came from the Rams organization, James Gladstone, which I refer to as Jimmy Stones now.
No! I'm going to steal the shit out of that. Hey, listen, if you listen to the Duval Dive during the next week, brother, that's going to come up. And you're welcome. Thank you, Casey. That's great.
He has been used. By the way, he's not making that shit up. He's dropped that name on me several times.
Jimmy Stones is great, dude. That's so goddamn perfect. Please continue, though.
Typically you see a new guy come in. He doesn't want to rock the boat. He doesn't want to make waves. Kind of just get through your first draft, almost being unnoticed if you could. Which you could have sit at the position you were. You could have taken Mason Graham. You could have traded back and got a plethora of edge rushers. But you make the biggest splash possible.
Right.
Which you said that the faithful needed to see that. They needed to see
the Duval devout were moved that day. Yes, sir.
So is that how the fan base viewed it as a whole?
Oh, absolutely. That part of it has gotten the most. And now remember, where I see the mixed reaction is more the other Universal fans. Like, my buddy BP, Brian Paul of A7BN Sports, he's a Chiefs fan who lives in the shores of the St. John's. It's like, why didn't they get a lineman? Now, I'll give him credit. They hadn't gotten all 6 new big bodies yet because they would get those other 2 over the next 2 days. But they had already brought in 4 veterans with starting experience, and he says gets an offensive lineman. Shut up! And by the way, let me remind the world of my credentials there with my Aaron Evans original, a UCF football player I should mention since I'm here representing the Band Red as well, right? That's from my playing days, okay? I'm an offensive lineman. They had plenty at the time. It's okay, guys, all right? Now, if you were concerned about defensive tackle, so was I, except I looked a little bit more deep in Mason Graham. I don't think he would have been a fit in Jacksonville anyway, which I think is the other leading thing. Okay. Remember, James Gladstone was with the Rams, and no, I'm not just tying this to them because I'm a fan, but they played the 49ers twice a year during his tenure there. I forget how many years it was, but hey, at least one as the assistant GM matters here, okay? So Eric Armstead now being on that roster, there is nobody more intimately familiar in the draft process with what Eric Armstead can do in this new front office than James Gladstone. That's pretty. Jimmy Stones. What am I saying? There's no James anymore. Damn it. So no, let me lay the play. Go. In light of that, they weren't going defensive tackle at any point. And I wrote about this, Fans for Sports Network. There is no greater condemnation of the defensive coaching than the fact that they said, hey, we're good at D tackle. Ryan Nielsen needs to just stop rotating players like it's a goddamn hockey lineup, and maybe we have a shot. Maybe we don't play Eric Armstead on the outside 61% of his snaps.
He was James Gladstone started with the LA Rams and was in 2016. So he had been there the whole time. He was a coach and he was a high school football coach, and then as a staffer in 2016 he was like an assistant to the GM, but he was in some close capacity. He was the director of scouting since 2019 with them.
Which means he also had eyes on Mason Smith, a guy who they had active scratches on throughout the season at points last year, and they're sticking with him on this roster. No picks for defensive tackle were made. And if they had gotten Mason Graham, it just would have been another, I'm not going to say finesse, but faster guy. He's certainly not a nose. He's certainly a 3 technique guy. He's not a big body that's going to soak up blocks, which is what the Jags actually need.
Yeah, you probably more better off in that situation taking his teammate The freak that was, oh my God, his name just left my head.
Kenneth Grant.
I was going to say James Grant because for whatever reason I'm on.
Get him in a later round. Get Membu and move on. Matter of fact, that's what I was hoping the Jags would do because again, Travis Hunter's going to be off the board. This isn't a thing.
Yeah.
So you get Membu before the Jets do. Ooh, it even rhymes. Anyways.
So like I said, we're going to be married to it. So let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. What's the season outlook looking for Jacksonville? How you feel? How do you feel? I'm not going to make you give me a record because I think sometimes that can be silly.
He's done the too early schedule game. He's done it already.
Oh, I know he's done it already. He's a pro's pro, and everybody knows they have to do it as soon as it happens. I got lucky. I was not on any shows when it happened, so I didn't have to do it.
Well, what's funny is I did it on somebody else's show, not my own. So whatever that's worth to you. But go ahead.
You don't have to give me a schedule prediction yet. I'll let Casey take that when he wants to take that. But just overall, how you feel going into this season about where the team's chances are. Like, is it a playoff team? Is it an 8-win team? Like, do you think they have legitimate playoff hopes?
Well, and then see, you're asking that question in a fashion that's going to make this just enough to be confusing. But I'm already on record on the Duval Dive. We had our most controversial, our hottest takes of 2025 preseason. Okay. And, bless the heart of Travis D. Holmes. He's so much of a straight shooter that the best ones he could come up with, although good, were Jarian Jones taking snaps at safety potentially, and both Anton Harrison and Walker Little not making it to the starting lineup of the offensive line. Not bad. But then I says to him, Travis, my champion, the AFC South is a power vacuum. Mm-hmm. The Texans have done their way to not necessarily become worse, but I certainly don't think they're as good on the offensive line as they were last year. And all anybody with the Texans organization who covers them would say is that our O-line was bad and underperforming. They were right. That's not the point. CJ Stroud, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he will suffer the same way Trevor Lawrence has. Nobody will notice it, as I pointed it out, but he's going to have those same issues, provided his receiver core again suffers as many injuries as last year. Hopefully they don't. If they don't, that will certainly help. But they're not doing anything to protect this guy. Cam Ward is an unknown quantity. And please, let's not get into the Colts quarterback situation, okay? So, with all the above in mind, I wouldn't pay dimes for that phone call. Anyways, so I made the pun. This is what I do. But
and I want to stop you right there. I appreciate more than anything someone who intends their puns.
Yeah,
it's not done enough
absolutely.
In this medium, so always intend your puns.
Without fear. And the only reason I say pun not intended is because it's one that I wish I had thought of but didn't, and didn't want to steal the credit and imply I had it all along. No, when I say that, that's what it means. It's a great point, Casey. But to line it all up, this takes us to a power vacuum in the AFC South. And what I'm on record saying already is that the Jags, despite all their flux, are the most stable group at the offensive line position because they're finally making the adjustment that they need to. Adjustments, what am I talking about? There is 6 new offensive linemen in that room, gentlemen. On the Jacksonville Jaguars roster, I think, what is it? 61% or 49%, that's the split, but one of them is the percentage of Jaguars that were not Jaguars currently in OTAs right now.
Yeah, either one of those numbers is high. Either one of them, yeah.
Let's pretend it's the 49, right? Exactly. So I say all of the above to say somebody's woken up, and there's only 2 franchise quarterbacks, and only one of them has been giving any effort commensurate with what I think is necessary to try to protect this guy.
Yeah,
because of that, the Jags are playoff competitive. No, they're not going to get a wild card. The conference is too damn good, but they can win a shitty division and sneak their way in.
It's why I wish the Browns were in the NFC South.
They're a lot better than they used to be, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, but we haven't won a division title since 1989. I think we could have got a couple of those in the South. And because every time the Browns are any good, so are every other team in the North. Every time they're good. They made the playoffs in third place one year when they won 11 games.
How many years? I think it was even including last year as well that I declared the AFC. Well, not last year, but the AFC North has been the best division in football consistently for a while.
It always feels like there's two teams at least that make it out. You get one wild card. They were hell the 2 years ago that when the Browns went to the playoffs as the what were they, the 6th seed, 7th seed, whatever they were. They were the 5th seed, and since he didn't make the playoffs, but they were 9-8, in last place. Like, you're like, sorry, I get on for a rant.
And then meanwhile, you'll have teams that win a division with a losing record and get to host somebody. But that's a separate question.
Let's circle back to Duval. Let's talk about Liam Cohen.
Yes.
So if you follow his trajectory, you're someone who was with the Rams, ends up in Kentucky, kind of gives Will Levis his career, goes back to the Rams. You've seen what he was able to do with Baker and Tampa. Now you're getting him. And I think, you see this from time to time where it'll be a prototype. You want to get that young offensive mind who's kind of a quarterback whisperer, and you want to pair him with a quarterback. Well, your quarterback's already in place, and I got Liam Cohen. How do you see that marriage working?
I don't know that Liam Cohen has had a quarterback as good as Trevor Lawrence yet. No disrespect to Baker Mayfield, but I don't know that he's had a quarterback of a talent level that can literally do everything like Trevor Lawrence can. So from his point of view, it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of makes that work. Moreover, let's be careful with saying he's the key. Well, no, he is the key to Will Levis's success. Not because Will Levis was ever any good. Kentucky was a running team, just like an SEC team should be. Wendell Robinson was an NFL receiver at some point. He just can't stay on the field I don't know if he's still with the Giants or not, but when he was drafted, he got hurt right off the bat there too, just like every other receiver in that roster did, as Danny Dimes was getting carried, right? The only thing that's a little scary for some people out there is the style of center that he enjoys. The Duval Devout are sick of the Luke Fortner types that don't necessarily knock a guy off the ball. And they've got a former Bucs backup in there now, who's the presumed starter. But people are worried about this, non-aggressive center. Well, hey, listen, first of all, somebody who's played the O-line, the best athlete on the O-line should be the center. The smartest guy on the O-line should be the center. I'm not worried about him knocking Simmons off the line when they're playing the Titans or, any of the Colts D tackles who are a very underrated unit. I'm worried about him getting to the second level when these new guards do their damn job. So, that's where some of that alleviates too. But listen, to see him do what he did to get success out of Baker, as somebody who carried on the philosophy of Sean McVay as a former McVayian from LA, I think tracks. And this is a soundbite. I got to give credit, of course, to the great Mia O'Brien, 1010XL. But she dropped something on TikTok that when there's a report out there, take it for what it's worth, when asked about who the best offensive mind in his group was, he took someone aside and told them that it was Liam Cohen. Not the gaggle of great offensive minds that we've seen, right? The Minnesota's coach, whose name is Kevin O'Connell, he's one of them. There's a number of guys out there, but he pointed out Liam Cohen as the great offensive mind. We'll find out.
I had a waffle. It's hilarious that Drew brought up a Waffle House because I had a hilarious Waffle House. Did you know that Cohen holds 6 of 8 UMass career passing records?
I don't. That's impressive.
The only 2 that he doesn't hold are career interceptions and career yards per game.
One of those you don't want anyway, so that works.
He was inducted into their
hold those.
Huh?
Does Dan Orlovsky hold those 2 then?
Probably. He was inducted into the UMass Hall of Fame in 2022. So it's just, I thought that was interesting just looking at, because he goes to Kentucky, leaves Kentucky, then goes back to Kentucky, then goes to Tampa Bay. It was kind of a, okay. All right. See, now you're getting a little out of hand.
I think it bears pointing out. I think Kyle lives in the state with the second most Waffle Houses.
Yeah.
Behind Georgia. Georgia's got us crushed. And I'm from the state with the third most Waffle Houses. I'm surrounded.
I think we have a lot of Waffle Houses in big cities because, like, I used to spend a lot of time when I was still in the Army, a lot of time in like Cincinnati areas. I think there'd be a Waffle House across the street from a Waffle House. And I'm like, well, good, because I didn't want to have to turn around. I can just go to this one on this side. I don't have to hang a Yui to go to a Waffle House.
I don't know. I would raise my eyebrow at a big city Waffle House. I prefer them off the beaten path. I'll leave it at that.
No, you're probably correct. Yeah. That's probably an
You get a good breakfast, you get security at the same time. It's brilliant. You know.
I don't go to Waffle House for security. I go for the watches.
Well, also here in Florida, something that affects you Ohio folks a little less. You know a hurricane is real when they close.
That's what I was told.
It's accurate. 100%.
That's how they base it. Yeah, that's
correct.
How they base it. How many Waffle Houses are open?
Yeah,
Waffle House is closed. Batten down the hatches, Humpy Pumpies. It's real, okay?
They send everybody home. Get the hell out of here.
There's stages to this, right? Disney is closed. All right, I'll watch the news. The news said Waffle House is closed. Batten it down, okay?
Yeah, I'm moving. I think I'm moving.
Let's talk about the weapons real quick that Lawrence will have at his disposal here. You move on from two players that have had success with Lawrence and Evan Ingram, and mentioned him earlier.
Christian Kirk, yeah.
Kirk. So they bounce out, but you get Hunter. BTJ obviously burst on to the scene last year. I'm assuming that Brenton Strange will be next up for the tight end with Ingram gone.
You have no idea how much I ticked people off by saying that the Jags shouldn't and won't draft the tight end, and they followed my role to a T. And here's the thing. Evan Ingram, it's not that I know Liam Cohen doesn't think he's a bad player. He's just not a fit. Just look at how he uses the tight end in Tampa, and that's everything you need to know. Meanwhile, there's a guy, Jimmy Graham, that was prolific so much as a tight end in the passing game that when it came time for his contract, they were considering franchising him, and there was a big argument. I think there may have even been a court case, or at least a tribunal, as to whether Jimmy Graham was a receiver or a tight end. Which coach was that? Sean Payton. Evan Ingram's going to be just fine. I think that is a win-win scenario there. So let's start that off there with a bang. Same thing for Christian Kirk, man. Listen, the dude's going home. Yeah, he's going back to his roots there, and he's playing out his career as a quality receiver and had prolific production. The Jags just couldn't afford him at this point, man. With all the guys that they've paid at this juncture, including one Trevor Lawrence, Josh Hines, Allen, Foye Oluokun, Tyson Campbell. You may not know Tyson Campbell's name, guys, because you guys do because you know ball, but you Brown fans out there, he was not playing against you guys because he was already hurt, as he tends to do early in the season. Didn't even finish week 1 last season before he got nicked up after getting his cash. Not that he's not trying. This is just a dude that has trouble staying on the field. It's problematic, right? So with all that in mind, those moves were sad, but they weren't debilitating because they've been replaced. De'Ami Brown, BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., and Travis Hunter might be the fastest trio in the division, if not the bleeding lead, especially now that Tyler Lockett has moved on from Seattle, and that group isn't what it used to be, right? What I've demanded, this is how much the speed matters. Like, we all know what a red zone package is. I want what I'm calling a fly zone package. Outside of that red zone, I want those three on the field, jetting their asses down the field. And when the safeties are all dropping back, either Travis Etienne or rookie Bashaw Tutin, who they drafted in the 4th round out of West Virginia, who is one of the fastest damn guys in the whole bleeding draft. Also, too, like RJ Harvey, but nobody wants to talk about because he went to UCF. Will just make an amazing package. And then maybe, just maybe, the offensive line, because the DBs are that paranoid, because everybody's sitting back, might move somebody off the ball and cause an actual run game. It has happened before.
Listen, we haven't been able to run the ball in 2 years, and that's coming from a team that that was what you knew them for at the beginning of Kevin's tenure here. So we were very understandable.
Key injuries in that too, though. Like that's a thing.
Yeah. It's really sickening. Because some people posted a workout video of Chubb cutting back and forth. He just doesn't look the same. Like, he just does not look like himself, and that pisses me off. Yeah. Because my God, was that fun? Was that a fun run? And it shouldn't have been over. Fucking, I don't give a shit. I'll go to my deathbed saying that was a dirty hit from Minka that blew up his leg. He shot low, went under the knee, and he destroyed it. Like, I'm sorry, gonna say it, gonna go there, but we get it. So let's do it then. I know that that's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna throw it out there. I was gonna let Casey do it. He didn't throw it up. Well, guess what? Here I come. So right now, as we sit, a lot of shit can change from May 25th at 9 p.m.
No doubt.
But where you sit now, man, like when we talk to you in 8 months or whatever, how do you think it ends?
Yeah, and what's weird about the schedule is it's easy where it's easy and it's rough where it's rough, man. Like, and there's something crazy about, playing Patrick LeVon Mahomes II on a Monday night. Jags have not had the best luck on Monday night, and not just losing the football game, but injuries galore. If anybody saw Press Taylor battling his brother, Zach Taylor, head coach of the Bengals, and watch, what was it, at least 6 starters. Don't ask me to name them off. I don't remember them all. That's how many there were. But to lose 6 starters in one night and still lose in overtime is just, gut-wrenching for whoever you are, right? So all the above to say, they are good enough. They're going to improve from 4 wins. That feels obvious. Do I see them getting 9? No, not necessarily. But I think they don't bet this, but the over-under is set at 7.5. I'd take the over on a technicality because I feel like 7 is too low.
Okay.
I feel like 9's the ceiling. I have them at 8 today. Okay. I'm not on record. I reserve my right to change that. And just like back when I did predictions on the Student of the Game podcast, I had until the Monday, aka Labor Day, before the start of the season, to lock in my picks. So there you go.
So we've perused your schedule. I think the first game is the most interesting because you open up with Carolina.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That feels like a big watershed moment because you face some killers right after that. You come out of the gate, and it's pretty rough, but it opens up on the back end, kind of similar to the way ours does as well.
It's kind of the same way that the Jags did last year. Absolutely. And that's where the key is.
So it's the Carolina. So is that, do you know if that's home or on the road?
I think that's a road game. You caught me off guard there. I think it's a road game. I don't remember immediately. But regardless, and by the way, you mentioned it, that game is sneakier better than one would think.
It's a home game.
It's an Everbank. Okay, so with that in mind, that helps obviously. But we saw Carolina finish strong at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And the Jags are the rookie head coach, GM, and EVP. The front office are rookies. They'll be depending on at least, I'll say, 3 rookies on offense, right? Mm-hmm. Potentially. At least 2, probably 3 is what I'll say, right? Because I think an O-lineman that got drafted is going to sneak in there somewhere. So that game's not a gimme is my point.
Well, I'll tell you what,
I'm so intrigued by. I'm a big Tet guy, and I know everybody just started shitting on Tet McMillan right before the draft, it was just crazy. But him and Leggett, and then oh my goodness, what's that undrafted guy's name that they had last year?
I mean, I just look at Jatavius Sanders as well. To that, they're going to be dangerous in the passing game.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's God, what is his name?
Coker,
Jalen Coker.
Oh,
Jalen Coker. Yeah, adding that group in there, fairly talented group. So I'm just in general, I was just pointing out, I'm actually really intrigued by Carolina this year.
Yeah.
It's how does Bryce Young look? That's what it is.
Well, I'll say this now because we're going to be tuned in to every game you guys play. It's going to be scoreboard watching for the duration of the season. So we want to have you back on at least halfway through the season as a kind of a pulse. We're going to check the pulse of the Jags and.
Well, you want to see what your pick is going to be. I get it.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're going to be living and dying with every final score you guys have.
Yeah, no doubt. That'd be great, of course. And let's be clear. If somehow the Jags are healthier than normal, that 9-win game scenario looks better. Maybe Trevor finishes the season this season. I know, right? Crazy times. Anyways.
Well, Kyle, before we let you go, man, before we end this thing up, just tell everybody where they can find all your stuff.
Guys, an honor, joy, and privilege to jump in. I always love shouting out and barking here with you Browns. It's all a great time. And not every day I get to do it with the two-prong attack of representing both the Black and Gold Banneret and Night Shift podcast and YouTube channel, as well as the Duval Dive and my writings with the Fans First Sports Network, where I also, by the way, not just the Jaguars, but for you NBA folks, yeah, we have a basketball team in here in Orlando. You may never know because they're usually on NBA TV, but whatever. That's so. Of course, yes, I write for the Orlando Magic as well. That draft is coming up here ever quickly. It's a month away, but that'll come by quickly. The Cavs always, man, listen, I love me, Donnie Mitchell. What happened to the Cavs in the playoffs was just sad, and I'll leave it at that. Of course, you can check out my work with the Duval Dive, as I said. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG, and find me as a student of the game on Facebook. Like I said, an honor, joy, and privilege. Until next time, everyone, class dismiss.
Sounds like a good place to end it. You've been awesome, Kyle. We'll be reaching back out. Jacob, next week we're going to try to get another guy on, talk about probably Dylan Sampson.
Do you know somebody?
I do.
Oh, great.
It won't be as electric as Kyle, but we'll get somebody, I promise. See you guys next week.
Peace.